Hey everyone, it's Jamie from IndependenceStNola and Seasonsinritual, and I am at the cafe, very exclusive cafe. It's only me and Helen here.
Hi.
I am here with the Crimson Cadaverous, and she has agreed to join me today because since Mercury is retrograde and we're about to have this giant lunar eclipse, I just thought this would be a nice time to kind of go over some of the big movements of the planets and what planets haven't been moving so much that we've been talking about. So I'm going to kind of lead the discussion. I don't have it mapped out chronologically in my mind, but
Maybe the universe does.
maybe it does. But I just wanted to go over with Helen and you guys just to see where kind of things are, where they've been and where they're going. So I guess we'll start with Neptune and Pisces.
Yes. Neptune has been in Pisces for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And she's at home in Pisces. That is her home sign. So that's always, a good place to see planets in their home sign. That's where they feel comfortable. Um, but the thing with Neptune and Pisces is they represent the things that are intangible.
Mm-hmm.
So to have her at home doesn't necessarily make things any more clear than they were in any other sign. It just means she's almost kind of like amplified in that energy of intangibility that in a way we've kind of had to release to
Mm-hmm.
throughout this time.
So she has been in there from, is it 2011 to 2012?
Yep.
And then Neptune will move out of Pisces. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
There's a jet plane going over.
Oh no.
Sunday it was fire trucks. Today it's jet planes. Okay.
Yeah.
So Neptune moved into Pisces or like 2011, 2012, and then she's going to move out of Pisces in 2025, 2026. So
Yeah.
I find that very interesting where she went in at that time. And since 2018 and how things have been moving from moving, I believe we've moved into this age of Aquarius.
Yes.
How Neptune has stayed in Pisces, but how we're reading it differently.
Yeah. I mean, I think in a way we've kind of been maturing with Neptune while Neptune's been in Pisces.
I agree.
Because again, at the very beginning, it was almost like kind of like, being brand new,
Right.
newborn or whatever, like not knowing how to deal with that intangible energy. And in a way, as we've like almost been like forced to surrender to it, because when you're in that energy, you just kind of have to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like we've all kind of collectively learned how to embrace those things that we can't necessarily explain. We can't like
Right.
pick up a piece of paper and have a tangible evidence of it, but somehow these are the things like our spirituality and things like that we've been able to connect to through that surrender.
Mm-hmm. And through those years. And I also think it's like we're able to give it a better respect, like respect this idea of surrender and respect this idea of, I don't want to say not having control, but kind of not having control, like
Yeah, it's kind of
trusting.
the energy of the hanged man,
Mm,
where it's like there's nothing you could do about that situation, but you can just accept it. And that's not necessarily to say in like a bad way.
no,
Sometimes
but
that's a good thing because that's the universe just kind of letting us flow in the way we need to flow.
right, but also bringing in that new perspective.
Yes,
It's changed
definitely.
since 2011.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we all have had our perspective change since 2011.
Mm-hmm. So, um, the next planet I'm going to touch on is Uranus.
Yes.
And Uranus is in Taurus, and Uranus moved into Taurus in 2018.
Okay.
And
And then
so
should be like till 2025 or something like that.
I could say either 2025 or 2026 as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big time of shift, actually. That we'll
Yeah.
get to that. But yeah, that is definitely a time when because Pluto's going to be moving like officially completely into Aquarius at that point too. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, lots of things shifting 2024, 2025, 2026. But um Uranus and Taurus is interesting because those two energies could not be more different.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've got this like fixed, like stable energy of Taurus, of the earth, and then like a completely changeable energy of Uranus. Uranus is always awakening us, always, pushing us to change, do something different,
Out
think of
there.
a higher level. Yes. So I think it's really challenged us to kind of dislodge ourselves from like our fixed scenarios that we had, I think is the best way to think of it.
I do too. I think it's really helped usher in, and like you said, unlodge ourselves from this idea what femininity looks like, what work looks like, how we value ourselves, how we value the earth.
Yes.
Because
I think, yeah, I think that's a really good point, especially when you talk about the earth, how we value it. I mean, I think as a collective, that idea is changing rapidly. Mm-hmm. And in a way that, like, maybe even if, like we already believed in climate change, knew it was an issue, that kind of thing, we weren't taking it seriously the way that we are now.
Right.
There's almost been like this awakening within the collective of people just going, we gotta do something about this.
Yeah, and it's been seen, and I mean, to me, it's also been reflected in the idea that we're trying to get rid of a lot of petroleum-based products, even though they seem to keep showing up. But the idea that the idea that all these companies were greenwashing, a lot of things, right? Because they do see, as a collective, we do value the earth.
Yes.
So don't get disheartened. I don't want, but I do see Uranus moving into Taurus, and really that's when I really saw, like, that's when I knew that was one of the signs to me that we were moving into that age of Aquarius, because fixed Earth was getting
shaken up,
moved in, by Aquarius's ruler, Uranus.
Yep.
Yeah,
I definitely think, I mean, again, like, I think it's just kind of a shakeup for the earth that we kind of needed. Like, it was almost like we were just kind of like, almost like sticks in the mud that needed to be like, ripped out, because it's like, you're just going to be a stick in the mud if you're not,
Yeah. And there was something else you also said that made me think of that. Oh, I guess too, like with that divine feminine, I'm trying to remember what I was going with this, but that divine feminine energy with Uranus, I kind of lost my train of thought anyway. But I will say this. 2018 was the same year. I'm pretty sure 2018, 2019. I'm like, those was when Uranus kept zapping Mars in the ass.
Oh.
It zapped Aries, and then Uranus zapped Aries and Mars together. And to me, that's what signaled the change of Mars from toxic masculine to divine masculine.
Yeah.
And then, because right at that same time is when Uranus, and I'm trying to remember this from the old memory banks, so bear with me.
You're doing better than me.
Thanks. But I remember having that scenario where Mars put new shoes on Taurus and said, hey, buddy, we got to go to this new pastor, and it's going to be hard, but I'm here with you. I'm going to help get you there. So, and I feel like we've just been moving through that ever since. And because we kept getting in this new sense of who we are, and then Neptune was still in Pisces, right? It was helping us ground, like, get rid of those old illusions and start bringing in new dreams.
Yeah.
Which is a good segue to Saturn moving into Pisces.
Yes, that is a very interesting energy that we experienced right before the big shift of, the spring equinox and the new Aries, the first Aries new moon, Pluto moving into Aquarius. Before any of that happened in the beginning of March, we had Saturn move into Pisces. Mm-hmm. And Saturn, of course, rules like structures and authority and our boundaries that we place, the foundations that we build. Basically, to me, it's really interesting to see Saturn move into Pisces because, again, okay, most important thing to mention about Saturn for this discussion is Saturn rules time.
Okay.
And Saturn going into Pisces, in a way, is almost like throwing your watch into the river. Time, let's be honest, time's gotten a little wonky. Mm-hmm. I think it kind of needs to be. I think we need almost that fluidity with time to almost kind of unravel our obsession with the illusion of time. Because as we know it, time is just an illusion that we've created for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And what I was going to say was Saturn just moved out of Aquarius into Pisces, and Saturn was in Aquarius for about 3 years. It moved in 2020.
Right, with the great conjunction with Jupiter. Yes. Yep. So that was like kind of setting off this like really transformative time that we've been in. But I think it's almost like we're moving into a different level with Saturn and Pisces, because again, Pisces also speaks to spirituality.
Yes.
So it's like finding some kind of structure within that spiritual realm that we've been kind of floating around in.
And so I think it's interesting because Neptune is still in Pisces.
Yes.
And Saturn is meeting Neptune in Pisces when Neptune is sort of kind of like more realized in Pisces. Like it's getting towards those critical degrees. I don't know if critical is the right word, but what do we call those ending degrees?
Well, the anaretic degree is the last one. Yeah, the 29th degree. But yeah, the final degrees.
Final degrees, that's the word. Yep. So I do find that interesting that they're sharing Pisces right now. And so Saturn, okay.
Neptune was already maturing in Pisces, you know, going through these energies. But I think having Saturn in there just kind of adds that extra oomph of like, all right, it's time to mature. It's kind of time to grow up with these energies.
Yeah. And it's kind of like you said, like, because we keep releasing and kind of getting an understanding of the, what do you always say? Unintangible?
Intangible things. Yeah.
Intangible, right. And so Saturn is coming in and giving it structure.
Right. Because again, like as intangible as something is, it still exists. So there's still something to it. And Saturn reminds us of that. Because again, even if Saturn in Pisces has got us, you know, at a point where we're like, what time is it? What is time? We still know time exists. So it's like we're just trying to understand it, maybe more on a spiritual level, actually.
I think that's a great way of doing it, which then to me would tie it back into Mars showing up divinely, Venus showing up divinely, and our masculine and feminines starting to work together.
Mm-hmm.
And then so if you guys can just kind of see this, so Saturn moved through Aquarius and then went into Pisces. The ruler of Aquarius has been in Uranus since 2018. Yeah. And now, and so that's how I see them working together, like those fixed signs energies working together, moving things around, because Pisces is water, but Pisces, we came out of that age of Pisces, but it's not fixed water. Fixed water is ruled by Pluto.
Scorpio,
And so Pluto had been in Capricorn for like 15 years, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not doing math, but what?
No, that's correct. Because it was 2007, 2008, somewhere in there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And so with Pluto in there 2007, and then we were still working in the old mindset. We were still working in that age of Pisces. We were still working very toxic and then by the time Pluto got to the end of Capricorn, Uranus has moved, Neptune had moved, Saturn had moved. And so all of a sudden, that's why, you know, when we were like, whoa, that was a good reason, because
a lot shifted over a short period of time.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot shifted. And I think, you know, as we're kind of taking stock of that right now, we need to remind ourselves that that all just happened a couple months ago, you know, and we're still kind of feeling those energies. And a lot of those energies, especially like Pluto and Aquarius and things like that, we've never experienced in our lifetime.
Nope.
So no matter how much we can, you know, think of what it might be like,
right,
we're living it, and now we know it's something different than we thought it would be, or not what we thought it would be, essentially.
Yeah. And you know, Pluto, which rules Scorpio, which is fixed water. So we have Uranus, who rules Aquarius, in Taurus, which is fixed earth, and Taurus does rule money, you know, how we value ourselves, all those things. And Scorpio rules well, it rules lots of things, but the other thing it does rule is other people's money. And so
Yeah.
I do feel like it's right on time how we start valuing these things differently within ourselves and with others as Pluto hit that last degree of Capricorn and then moved into Aquarius.
Yeah.
On March 27th,
23rd.
March 23rd. So you guys, Pluto had been in Capricorn for 15 years and then moved into Aquarius on March 23rd. It's never been in Aquarius before in our lifetime. So now we're getting zapped with all this new energy. And so you have fixed air getting just a toe in, right? A toe in from Pluto, which is the planet of transformation. And Pluto rules fixed water.
Mm-hmm.
You still have Aquarius's ruler of Uranus in fixed earth.
Yeah.
So see, and to me, with these fixed signs, there is a lot of movement. And then Saturn is Aquarius's ancient ruler.
Yep.
It has been in Aquarius for the past 3 years and then just moved into Pisces. So, which is what? Water. And so, and I'm saying this just to let you guys know, like there's so much movement. There's so many band-aids being ripped off. There's so many roots being, trees being pulled out by the roots, that there has been so much movement that it is okay to take stock. It is okay to see, like, where am I right now? And it's okay to be like, my life has changed. My dreams are over because I have new dreams, all this energy, because I wanted to mention that Pluto touching just that first degree of Aquarius because it just went retrograde. Pluto just went retrograde.
Yeah, so we only got a tiny little bit of a taste.
Right.
And I just want to, like kind of bring it back to that. Like if Pluto moved into Aquarius March 23rd, it's only been a month and a half. And it's been bananas. Like think of all the things that Pluto has revealed just in that short period of time,
right,
whether it be in the collective, within our personal lives. I mean, pretty much everyone I've talked to has had something, come up for them.
Yes.
Whether it's good or bad, that is definitely not what they thought.
No.
There's definitely things that are like, wow, that's not what I was thinking that really was.
And I think that came out of nowhere.
Right. And I think because of that, I think there's a certain level of healthy bewilderment.
Yes. Will you keep talking? My dog just disappeared. You keep going with your drink. Yeah. I gotta leave the cafe for one moment. Okay.
But so, with this like healthy level of bewilderment, I think it's important that we recognize that, we don't have it all figured out. Maybe in the past we thought we had these things figured out because I don't know, everything was in comfortable energies that we understood. We don't have everything figured out, but I think that is probably a good thing for us to actually be able to discover the things that we didn't know about ourselves, that we didn't already know about the world. There has to be a certain, like a healthy level of bewilderment to get to a point where you can understand something differently.
I agree with everything you just said.
Yay. Did you find comments?
Yes, he's back.
Okay, good.
He's just outside sniffing the fresh air. He too needed some fresh air. Yeah.
Well,
close the gates. Yeah. Okay, so how long will Pluto stay in Capricorn? Now that it's
the beginning of next year. So Pluto is still in Aquarius now, but then we'll move back into Capricorn June 11th.
Okay.
But because of how that retrograde cycle works, going into October, he will stay there until after retrograde and he starts moving forward again. He won't get back into Aquarius until January of 2024.
Okay. So
and that'll only be for a period of time because there'll be another retrograde. So it's like another dip out and dip in until the final, the end, I believe November of 2024 is when he moves into Aquarius, for 20 years or whatever.
Yeah, that's so interesting that he's stationed retrograde and he's going to be just turning retrograde, I guess, at 1 degree of Aquarius. How many degrees is he in there?
Basically. So, which is really significant because that was the degree he was at when we had basically both of these Aries new moons. The first one was solar eclipse. So there's something to be said for those energies. As much as those were already beginning something new for us, we're going to keep triggering that energy.
Yeah. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So like, I don't know if that means like we'll stay in those themes.
I keep revisiting them and maturing with them.
Okay.
Because again, he's going to keep revealing things to us. And the more that he reveals to us, the more that we're going to adjust, our own mindset on things.
Like an onion, so many layers.
So many layers. And I think that's a perfect way of thinking about Pluto and Aquarius. It's like an onion. There's layers to it. Might make you cry a little bit.
That's funny.
Add some flavor to things, but
yeah. And speaking of retrograde, Mercury is retrograde in Taurus.
Yes, which is, you couldn't have picked a more perfect time for reflection than the middle of eclipse season.
Oh God, yeah.
It's funny because he hasn't caused, or excuse me, they, for Mercury, they have not caused too many issues in my life so much like with, like technological snafus. Now I'm saying that, knock on wood. But too many technological things. It's more just been the reflection that has come through and just things that like, because they're in Taurus right now, I think there is a slowing down even more than just with a retrograde, where it's kind of slowing down and going, let's get down to the, to the most grounded version of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And, because it's happening during eclipse season, it might not feel grounded. Doesn't necessarily feel that way, but that is ultimately what's happening here. Is we're blowing some things away so we can get to a
right place. But but you putting it that way makes me think of that, like we are trying to get back kind of to basics, what's going to make it simple, like going over things we should have been, not we should have, but going over things we can go over that are already here, just to like make things more simple, make things more grounded.
And that's definitely what Mercury and Taurus wants, is things to be more simplistic, not overthinking things, not trying to do too much, not trying to, save the world or whatever you want to say. Like, it's more like, okay, where are you meeting yourself right now? That's your most authentic place.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. How are you showing up authentically? And then we were talking before we came on air. This is the first retrograde we've had in so many months.
Yes. So we had a really interesting period from like January to what was it? Just a couple weeks ago when Mercury stationed retrograde, where it was about a 3-month period where no planets were retrograde. And of course, the kind of old school, like reading of that is like full steam ahead, just go, go, go.
All an ass. Yeah.
Well, we lived through the last 3 months and we realized even if we tried to do that, that wasn't really what we were supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that's hard.
It's almost as if we kind of need at least one planet to be retrograde. So we do have a little bit of a slowdown, a little bit of a reflection period. Because really that 3-month period, maybe somebody that's listening to this got absolutely everything done they wanted to get done and, advanced everything and blah, blah, blah. But I think, most people listening to this are probably like nodding along going, yeah, I didn't get everything done I thought I was going to get done.
Yeah.
It wasn't about that.
I think it was about bringing in, new excitement, new energy, new questions. This is what I was looking for, which is not going to show up. God damn it.
Uh-oh. What is it?
The Chariot card.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. No, it was definitely a very Chariot energy. It's the year of the Chariot. So that makes sense. But again, like there is something about like a chariot can be like kind of like a runaway chariot, and there were times where that energy kind of felt like that. So there is something nice about being able to like kind of pull the reins in,
get rebalanced.
Yeah, because again, there was probably the sense that we felt like we were supposed to be doing everything, but that doesn't mean we could.
No, and I think maybe it was getting I don't want to say too reactionary, but kind of too reactionary, like just keep going. But also I will say this, it was also a point of time where we needed to reflect to see where things, I want to say where justice has been served. Okay. And we needed to get to a point where we needed to reflect and change the perspective about actually how things were going.
Yes.
Instead of always like looking to the other and being like, this isn't happening fast enough, or these people aren't being brought to justice. It was like, wait a minute, hold up. Yes, they are. Yes, they have. Let's see what did stand and didn't fall when things were coming under attack. And so we really did need this slowdown. Like you said, back in Taurus, I mean, having Mercury in Taurus, so we could talk differently
Yeah.
about the earth, for sure, but like ourselves and actually what seeds are being planted very well and what is actually growing.
Absolutely. And I think, when you're talking about Mercury and Taurus specifically, like, I think, slowing down, how we like communicate about things and think about things, but also kind of like changing the narrative. I think
Yes.
we had a period where, again, like that 3-month period where we were just kind of go, 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 high energy and stuff like that. We didn't have a lot of time to think about what our actual narrative was.
Right.
And I think, Mercury and Taurus is kind of like, kind of bringing us back down to reality and being like, all right, that's fine that you're doing all these things, but what does it mean? What stories are you telling yourself? Like, how are you, talking yourself through this?
Yeah. And I mean that, and I mean that like in all realms. I think people were getting really tired, and like the collective conscious energy was getting really tired because people are showing up and people are doing things, but they unfortunately kept seeing the same narrative. And now that we're in this retrograde, we're like, oh wait, I can see now where things have some more hope and things are changing.
Right. And
And
it's
it's
like
important.
it's like the idea of like needing to like take a step back to take a step forward.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. Okay, let me think. Oh, what I also wanted to touch on Mars, who's in Cancer now.
Yes.
But
And that's,
Mars, but how long was Mars in Gemini for?
oh God, he was in there for like 5 months. And I
Right,
mean, it
which
seems
is
like a million years
right,
because he doesn't spend that. He spends like maybe like less than 2 months usually
right,
in a sign.
in a
And so this
sign.
is like, quite a significant period of time because of his retrograde,
Hmm.
where from like October, the end of October until March, the end of March was when he was in Gemini,
Seemed
which,
forever.
yeah. And so we had the retrograde in the middle of that. And so there was a lot of reflection, a lot of like curiosity because, Gemini does speak to curiosity. And so, like, just curiosity about our power and like trying to understand ourselves
Hmm.
on that level that, like, maybe we hadn't explored before.
Hmm.
But to see him move into Cancer, which is usually not a sign I would get excited about him being,
Yeah, I
but
know.
I think I'm just excited to see him go into any other sign. But to see him move into Cancer after that retrograde period, I see him being a lot more mature in Cancer
Oh, hell
because
yeah.
that could be, old school idea of like Mars and Cancer, like the lower vibe is going to be, emotionally immature, like, not necessarily the
Yeah.
most powerful energy.
They used to say when Mars moved into Cancer, he was in his detriment. And
Right.
I don't believe the word detriment very much anymore. It's
No,
a
and
very patriarchal term to me.
right. And I think, again, as we're, redefining masculinity and femininity and how we live in those ideas, this idea that like the masculine must be a certain way and that it has
Right.
to be, it,
It's
we're
a,
getting away from it.
we're getting away from that. And so, yes, Mars in Cancer is that to me. Mars is vulnerable. Mars sees the strength in that. I see that
Yes.
6 month period in Gemini was him just like going back in between things. Like, this is how it was. This is how it could be. How's it
Yeah.
going to move forward? Just having that really intense talk with himself. So, and then he gets to show up in Cancer. And, what a beautiful place to be after you've been in Gemini for freaking 5, 6 months, that I'd want to go to Cancer after being.
Right. There's a lot of like the comforts of home
Yes.
associated with that sign. And what's interesting is Venus, who's in Gemini right now, she's about to move into Cancer.
Yes.
So what is it? At the end of this week, I think. Let me look at my notes.
The end of this week, man. If we survive the end of this week, these are jokes, people. We're gonna survive.
We didn't come this far not to.
Thank you. That's what I always say.
At the end of this week, she moves into Cancer as well. So this is going to be the first time in a while that Mars and Cancer are together in the same sign.
What a beautiful sign to be in.
I know. And I think it's almost like us like coming back home to the, what's the word I want to say? Like the melding of our masculine and feminine together.
Yeah, how we're supposed to show up authentically. And that's both sides working as
We've
one.
we've been taught, that we're one or the other, and that we have to, present us one way or this or that. And it's like, we almost have to like completely shadow this other side of ourselves and look for it in another person.
Right.
That time, reflecting in Gemini, the duality of that kind of got us out of that, I think, and got us where we can kind of realize that all of that is with it at home within us.
At home within us. And I think, that's why I don't see Gemini as duality anymore, because if Mars was going back and forth between that, he had to come to a new answer. And so he was going and thinking, am I masculine or am I feminine? And then it was just like, oh, I'm myself.
Right.
I get it. I have both. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm movement, right? So we would see that as masculine, but I can listen to the feminine side of me. And so I think it's really interesting, like touching on what you're saying, that they meet in Cancer, because Cancer is ruled by the moon, and that moon is that divine feminine, and he's okay with that. He's okay with that. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, he's mature.
Yep.
And that's, the implication is that we're maturing along with him.
Yeah, yes, I believe so. I do. I see it in different ways.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Well, I was just gonna say, and I think this Mercury retrograde is very helping with that too.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of, again, it's bringing some pragmatic energy to just our minds. Yeah. And all those things that maybe we were like feeling a little crazed about, we're like, nope, now I can think about this more clearly. Now I can come up with, a way through.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know if this is the last one we're going to touch on. My brain is saying yes. So if you think of another one, jump in here.
Okay.
But Jupiter, who is in Aries right now.
Yes. And that was actually going to be a really brief stay in Aries. So normally Jupiter spends about a year.
Right.
In one sign. And this time, because he wasn't retrograde and just the way that things worked out, he's only going to spend about 5 months in Aries. So he's zipping right through that fire sign.
Yeah.
And in
mayhem. Jupiter in Aries, mayhem. And I mean that like in a fun, jovial way, but shit.
Oh, yeah. Like just, I mean, the energy of Jupiter is just so big and expansive and, can't be ignored. But, and neither can Aries. So, yeah.
Okay.
But he's going to move into Taurus in a couple of weeks. And I feel like that's going to calm things down considerably.
I agree with you.
He amplifies anything he touches.
Yeah.
But if he's touching grounded, comforting energy, that's going to get amplified. Mm-hmm. Taurus also speaks to like money and resources and the earth. And I think that in a way is going to expand discussions about the earth and just what needs to be done, a pragmatic, grounded approach to dealing with our earth and approaching her in a better way.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, because that feminine energy is receptive, that more people are going to be receptive to this energy.
Yes.
To these talks. Look, I'm not saying everyone, but I do feel like it's going to be more receptive. I also think that other places in the world that are hot spots right now for war, it's going to settle down there too.
I hope so too. I think that makes sense, because again, Jupiter expands, and it's like if he's expanding upon a grounded energy, a comforting energy, an earthy energy, that's a good thing. We want that.
Yeah. So yeah. And when does he move into, he moves in Taurus pretty quick. I mean, not pretty quick, but
16th, I believe. Is it May 16th? Yeah.
Oh, May 16th.
Yeah. So 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now, Mercury will station direct when?
The 14th, so 2 days before Jupiter moves. So once we hit the middle of the month, a lot of this really intense energy that we've kind of been building up to with, the upcoming eclipse and everything else that, came before that, I feel like a lot of that is going to break.
I agree.
Not going to say, everything's going to be perfect,
right.
or, sunshine and flowers and roses, but like those are still all out there and we should go out there and enjoy them, of course. But I think there is going to be some more grounding that comes to that, where, Mercury's not retrograde, Jupiter's in a grounded sign,
Right. And we'll be able to act upon, I think, at a normal pace, these things that we've gone over during this Mercury retrograde and everything that this effing eclipse portal has brought up.
Yeah, and I think, I know we weren't going to talk too much about the eclipse in this, but I think it's important just to tell people that everyone's feeling this. I have not talked to a single person that isn't feeling this. You're not going crazy. This isn't,
This is intense, you guys. This is really intense, especially having a full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio.
It is very intense, but because it is so heavily influenced by Pluto, I feel that is really important to remind everyone that Pluto just wants what's best for us.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it doesn't feel that way, even if, sometimes he's terrible and you're like, what's going on? But like, he's doing it because it's like he could sometimes see better than we could see for ourselves what needs to happen. And he's like, you know what? This needs to go. This needs to go, and having faith in, that power of Pluto, because Pluto also speaks to power. Mm-hmm. He's a lot of times our hidden power, but he is our power. And having faith in that and just letting him, do the creative destruction that needs to happen is something that's really profound and important for us right now.
Yeah, we need that transformation.
We do. And it's like, what it really comes down to is there's so much that still needs to be shifted. And sometimes just having a big old, toilet bowl cleanse, which is kind of what this feels like, is what needs to happen.
Yeah. And again, Pluto rules Scorpio, and Pluto, we're having this full moon in Scorpio, lunar eclipse in Scorpio, and Pluto's just stationed retrograde in Aquarius. So it is a little uncharted territories. It is about transforming all those old stories and stuff and bringing them into new stories. But remember, Pluto is retrograde now, so it's giving us time to kind of figure this stuff out. Even right now, like we're like like the smoke's clearing, okay, but we're gonna see a better landscape here in a minute.
Oh, absolutely. And it's important to remember that eclipses affect us for a while.
Right.
We may be seeing changes right now and things coming and going, because of course we had the solar eclipse, which is new beginnings. But we will see this all play out over a period of time, at least the next 6 months. I'm kind of thinking longer, just because of the fact that Pluto keeps going back to that place he was at when he squared the Aries solar eclipse.
Okay.
Going to go back to that place a few times as he moves in and out of Capricorn and Aquarius. So we're going to keep triggering that same point, which I think to me tells me that this story is much bigger than a normal eclipse.
Yep. And also because this eclipse, both of them were ruled by Mars, because Mars rules Aries, and Mars used to be Scorpio's ancient ruler. It's important to remember that Mars has been in Cancer for both of these.
Yeah.
And so once Jupiter hits Taurus, I think it's going to help calm everything down, kind of like we were saying. And even though I do have fits of intensity, I just keep thinking, man, I'm so happy Mars is in Cancer, because it is bringing up a more vulnerable side of me on how to work with things that are coming up, or work with others when they feel vulnerable, and like, or people having the strength to say things that maybe they wouldn't. And so it's sort of like that courage to kind of step into that vulnerability, to be like, this is where I am. At the same time, having that's brave, that's being brave, that's that bravery. So just that signature will, you know, for the next 6 months for sure. So it's good. Bravery, like just like the those people that are standing up that are I won't go there, but anyway, people that are standing up for different things now, you know, that might have not done it in the past. So
yeah, exactly. And I think, yeah, we are moving into an era where I feel like people are standing up, people are asserting themselves and things like that, but in a softer way, like
right.
where you talk about with like the Mars and Cancer, where it's not like you have to go beat somebody up to get your, their attention. It's like you can use your words, you can use your emotions, and kind of channel them.
Yeah, and people are starting to question, and this is that Uranus and Taurus again, but starting to question, is it worth taking the payout to stay quiet?
Right.
And I think that has a lot to do with the North Node in Taurus, but also Scorpio being in that South Node.
Yep. And like those, secrets and lies and like things we covered up before, we don't need to do anymore.
No. So I think
Yeah, and I think that's a big theme of this lunar eclipse is like letting go of the facade.
yep. And we can see that in so many ways. And I won't say that whenever we start our other chat, Helen and Jamie talk doo doo
Yeah,
about politics and
yeah, I know.
astrology. We can do that, but not with this one.
Yeah.
So okay, so is there anything else you kind of want to touch on with this Mercury retrograde? Just check in with the planets. Is there anything else?
I mean, I think we covered a big portion of what's going on. Just to kind of recap, I feel pretty good about it.
Okay, I do too. So just to remind you guys, I will be doing a full moon lunar eclipse video very soon, probably tomorrow, but since it is on Friday, I keep forgetting today is Wednesday because time has been bananas for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah,
And then have you already written on it?
I'm going to. I'll write on it the day of. I've been writing a lot about it as I lead up to it, but I
Yes.
will do something on the day of.
Okay, and you guys can check that out on Helen's Instagram at the Crimson Cadaverous, and then you guys can always get in touch with us that way or through my Instagram, YouTube channels, or my website. So I hope this little check-in was helpful for you guys. Thank you, Helen, for meeting me
Sure.
at the cafe on this.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. After we shut down, you and I will just have our imaginary coffees and chit chat.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we'll see you next time.